Hey gamers, welcome to the PTGC podcast. My name is Gerard. Joining me are my other hosts, Gio and Mike. Say hi.
What up?
What up?
Don't know what that was. Today's episode is another game from the Xbox Showcase, coming from a Chinese indie company about the Ming Dynasty, Wuchang Fallen Feathers. The trailer, very brief, I would feel like, in the Xbox Showcase. Beautiful aesthetics, and with a lot of what I believe is Souls-like combat. What did you guys think about the trailer during the Xbox Showcase? Gio, give me your points.
Oh, when I first saw the trailer, I was intrigued right away. Obviously, I'm a big fan of more Eastern side culture and stuff like that, and samurais, ninjas, stuff like that. I'm always into. So I was intrigued right away, drawn into it, and then it gave me vibes of like Omniusha kind of style of game. So I was intrigued right away by it, and it looks interesting to me. It does have beautiful visuals as well, which I think most games should at this point in age. But I really like how it looks. It intrigued me right away. I definitely want to see more from it. Obviously, it's a 2025 release at this point. So I'm interested in seeing what it's going to be like, more like style-wise, game-wise, because you said it's Soul-like from what you read. So I don't know if that would appeal to me in the same way. So I got to see more about it.
And what about you, Mike? Because I know you don't traditionally play like Dark Souls or Sekiro, which is this game has been mostly a title to or inspired by. What are your thoughts?
When I first saw it, I was intrigued. The graphics looks good. The storyline is what kind of piqued my interest, because I'm always down for a good story. The combat, yeah, I've seen it. It's not, we've seen it in other games. It's nothing kind of new. So I feel like it's gonna be the same. But I'm just more intrigued of the story, really. And it's a female lead too, so that helps, if that makes any plays a role. But yeah, I am excited for it. Like I said, story. I'm sure the story is gonna be good, and I'll probably play just based on that reason to see how it is. But it's not a lot of, I haven't really seen a lot of the gameplay as well, like the showcase, and that's it. I would just have to see when more stuff comes out, but probably will try it.
Gerard, is that the first female lead character in a game like that?
In a game like what?
Like that style, Sekiro, Dark Souls. I've never played the other kind of games. I think she's the first female lead character.
I'm not gonna make that large of assumption because one, there's way too many games, and I'm trying to narrow down what do you mean, like in a single player Souls like.
Yeah, like that style of game is what I'm saying. Like Sekiro, Dark Souls, usually that's male character driven.
Technically speaking, Dark Souls is both male and female, but that's besides the point.
I didn't know that. You could change.
Character creator is a big thing in Dark Souls, and majority of Souls-like game. That's why I'm having a hard time. Like, there's usually character creator in these games.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I thought there's a main character, like Omniusha had his main character, Dante in Devil May Cry. Like I thought there's a solid main character, and she appears to be the one. So
yeah, and that would be false. Mm-hmm. Only because, if I remember correctly, Stellar Blade would fit into that category. Okay. And Stellar Blade is a female main character, so. And that's just a recent one. I can't think of anything else. But with that being said, how do we feel? Because, we have Stellar Blade, we have Wuchang, we're going to have Flintlock, south of the, I think it's south of the night. Thank you. I was like, I'm trying to remember the last one. There's the last one there. We're getting a lot of single player, mostly single player. I would say all of them are single player because I don't know if there's any multiplayer or co-op aspects yet. So I'm just gonna say at this current moment, believed to be single player female main characters. Are we hoping that that is the trend? Because for me, I think either way, I this is going to be a horrible thing, but personally, I would like a choice between female and male. Not because I would play a male. I would always play a female character. That's besides the point. But I would like the choice, because sometimes people would like to play men. People like to play female. I would like people to go into their way. So having a choice between the matter is a very good option. And I'm going to use an example like Genshin Impact. Will give you a choice between the two. Majority of gachas do that, and you also have, before either character creators would do the exact same thing. So, Mike, since you've brought up this kind of idea that the female main character is very good, what is your thoughts about more female main characters in our in single player games as a whole, as the main character?
I get the point. Like, you want an option at least to have a male, which is fine. But if the story is kind of driven around a specific, gender, I don't mind playing if the story is good. That's me. If it's a female character lead, fine. I'm down to play it if that could set the story. But would others be deterred maybe because it's a female? I don't know. I don't see why, but I could see that's the case, and having to want option to at least play both. But I don't know, if the story is driven by a female lead, then I think I'm all for it.
How about you, Gio?
I got a couple of things on this. First off, stating what you were saying, having the option. I think it's cool to have the option, I guess, if it really it bothers a player that much. For me, though, I really don't care. It never affected me. I've never looked at the character and said, oh, it's a female character. Why can't it be a male? That's never came to my mind. Just a throwback game to throw out there would be Final Fantasy 13 with Lightning. She was the main character. So, and that's one of my favorite Final Fantasies. But I didn't think about it like she's... I said one of my favorites.
I say nothing, continue.
Anyway, so... to me, I think if it bothers you there like that much, I feel like that's maybe like a personal insecurity that you got that you need to self-reflect if you're that worried about the character being male or female.
I'm gonna put a pin on this. Continue.
If it changes, you buying the game is what I mean. If you're gonna not buy the game because it's a female character, I think that's just silly. The other thing is, I think it's also embracing the fact that there's more female gamers than before, and also, it's nice for them to be able to see themselves in a character. So I take that into account also. For me, like I said, it doesn't affect me either way. I'm cool with it. Like Mike said, if it's a good story, it makes sense, and it's a good game, I really don't care if it's male or female. It doesn't bother me at all.
The pin I wanted to talk about was I think you corrected yourself and saying like, hey, if someone doesn't choose to play a game because the main character isn't the gender they want, we'll flesh that. It's not just male to female or female to male, just isn't a gender they want. It's kind of a little bit far-fetched and maybe a little bit it doesn't need to be the issue broader. It's a personal issue. Okay. I was thinking more, like, I don't know if people would not play a game because there's a female male characters, but I do know there's a lot of people who refuse to play female characters if they have the option, because it's mostly men that do that. So I don't know if there are people out there that would refuse to play a female character, but I was trying to go into to give the ability to have someone connect to the main character, because I know a lot of people feel left out if like majority of the men are the main characters and females are usually either the damsel of distress or a sub character that is romanceable, which is usually what a whole bunch of things are like that. So just more of a inclusive to bring into people together, and that actually brings me up to funny. This is not a good segue. I apologize for that, but this is a Chinese indies company's first game. And I know indie games have been seen as like either really good or really bad. So there is a little doubt in my mind, a little salt to add, is that this is an indie game. So the question is, we don't know any critiques. We don't know how the development cycle is. We don't know if it's going to like change radically before the end, because it's an indie game. There's no oversight or anything like that. So what do you guys think is, do you believe, knowing that this is a like not only not AAA game, but this is a game that is actually made what's the word I'm looking for? Not Western. It's an Eastern perspective on it for the first time. Do you guys think it's going to be successful on release? Well received? And more importantly, is it going to have a different reception in the West compared to its homes like in the East with China? GL, what are your thoughts? Well received in the West and well received overall.
For me, since it's being a Chinese indie team, as well as the fact that it's based on Chinese culture, I feel like the game is probably more personal to them. So I feel like they're putting a lot more effort and heart into it than we might, expect or think from some of these other major developers and AAA games, like you were saying. So I feel like if anybody's going to do it right, it's going to be them, even if they are, a smaller company and not well known like that yet. I feel like this might be one of those games that is a breakout game for them that puts them on the map, kind of like, any other developer that had their breakout game. You think of Epic Games with Unreal Tournament, stuff like that. You have those games that put somebody on the map. This could be the game that puts them on the map, especially since they're putting their culture out there for the world to, see from their perspective and get an idea of. And in a sense, it's not, being culture vultured in a sense. I hate to say it that way, but that's the reality of it. We in America don't look at it that way, but we do that a lot. It's just how it is. But to me, like I said, I think it just comes down to if the game's going to be good, I feel like they're going to be the ones to do it right if it is going to be a good, because they have a lot invested in it.
Right. I think maybe you consider this a sleeper kind of game, like in terms of like it may surprise people how good it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think it does. I think it does have that factor. It'd be interesting. I don't know.
Well, Mike, it being a Chinese game and you being Chinese as well, do you have any expectation for it yourself though, as Chinese culture? Like, do you hope it's successful? I'm not trying to make it a race thing, but it's true. Like, you want it to be good, right? For your own people. Like, yeah, we can do this too.
Mike, is this racist?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's just funny. I do. As I don't know. I'm like, I have expectations. I'm not really like in my culture to know this type of our history. So
yeah, because
I don't know if I have like expectations for it.
But do you have hope for it? Like, because all right, so let's say Puerto Ricans made a Puerto Rican indie game company, and we did something about our culture. No, but Gerard, our people ride or die with anything that we put our name on. Like, if it's from us, we're gonna rock with it. We're gonna support it. We're gonna do everything to help it's successful. Support it in a manner. Puerto Ricans are over the top sometimes, but that's just the way we is. That's why I asked. Like,
and that's why I wouldn't buy it. That's why.
For that reason alone.
It's going to be over the top. Everything is going to be over top in the game.
It's going to be Puerto Rican flags everywhere.
My expectation of the game is it's not like high. But it's not like low. I'm intrigued. I want to see if they do it right, and I don't expect them to do any different since it is a Chinese indie company. So I don't think that like they're gonna far off from the truth or the whatever the case may be. I'm intrigued on how they take it, how far they take it, or how accurate or not accurate, but like just how they take it, I guess.
Hey Gerard, can you put a pause in the video real quick?
All right. So I wanted to actually bring up a thing that with the racism that just happened. I'm just kidding. I'm with
Racism.
I like
Yeah.
it. No, because the idea, and this is not in like to downplay this at all. China has very strict regulations around video games, especially around Western games. So with this, or they're not Western games, Eastern games. So games that are made in their country tend to be very strict and follow regulations, and our Western culture doesn't usually adhere to that, or just like there's a conflict of interest majority of the time. So if this game either gets regulated or they have to go back and do patches to fix things because the Chinese government forces laws and regulations on them, how would you feel? Because again, this has popped up in other games. A good example is Genshin Impact, Wuthering Waves, things of like those natures. Anything Tencent related, anything Tencent would have a huge impact here. So, what are you guys' thoughts on like? What if the game comes out and then 2 weeks later it gets changed because China doesn't like it? Or the game feels different now because their target audience is the Chinese people, and the Chinese government changes it to that and not for the interest of the Western players. Mike, would you like to start off in your thoughts?
Ooh. I mean, that's just there were changes because of China stepping in. I mean, it's just gonna not bode well with the game, just because it's not original. Or it's not that, I don't say original, but like it's not what it was meant to be, and they make it a change because of politics, basically. You know, and I think that would turn off a lot of the gamers that wants to play the game. I mean, it would change me. I'm like, well, what's the point of playing if you're trying to control the narrative, basically?
And I will give you an addendum, so I don't know if it changes your opinion. The majority of Chinese regulations tend to be about women's clothing and the way they are visually seen. Now, I don't mean sexualized, because the definition of sexualized in Western culture is different than in Eastern culture, where we would see it as being, oh, that's just they're wearing a dress. China would see like, hey, there's a potential for unpure motives that can happen here. You must either censor, put, or change the clothing completely. Things that we would find normal, they would have to redo in China games. So that's what is mostly referring to. I don't know. Yeah, it's an indie company, so I don't know if the Chinese government it's already seen any of them. So it might still be on the chopping block. Go ahead, Mike.
I mean, can they change it? Like, I mean, if they could change the game and
after release, yes, they would force him.
It'll be a patch.
It'd be a patch.
Only in China, or like just,
it would. Depends on how the company does. That's we don't know.
If the company operates inside China, I think it'll be the whole product.
It'd be the whole product.
Yeah, I mean, I still think it'll turn people away.
Yeah.
Well, me. I want to say I can't speak for everybody, but like, if this is not the game that you intended to put out, of everything of what you wanted to put out, and you have to make changes based on location, I'll say, doesn't make me want to play the game anymore.
I'd like to state to start where you started from the beginning. I think it being a Chinese indie company, I think they were probably smart enough to think, hey, if we want to be successful, we gotta follow our country's guidelines because you know, I would hope, you know, because realistically, like you said, if China gets involved, they're gonna force them. It's gonna happen.
I know it's not the guidelines that's the problem.
No, I know. What I'm saying is what they've seen China done in the past, like their government, how they enforce certain things. I would hope they have some kind of idea of what lines they can't cross, in a sense, or where they might be getting too close to crossing a line that may not, and especially with a narrative, right? So they're already doing about the Ming Dynasty and stuff like that, and there's heroic or historic names already involved in the game. So I'm sure, and we do it too in the Western culture. It's called propaganda. So I'm sure they're painting a certain narrative of the game already because of the historic background behind it to make China look good. We do it in our own country. American games do it with Call of Duty and all that stuff. We do it. Not to the extent, we don't have the same restrictions as other countries per se, and China's probably the most strict one. But I feel like they would probably be smart enough. They should be smart enough because, like you said, them being an indie game company, it's their first game. If they mess it up with their own country, then I hate to say it, they shit the bed because the game's gonna fail, and that'll be the end of that company basically, right off the jump. And I would think leadership should have that mindset, like, hey, we got to make sure we play this right with our own country, because if we don't, then our game is dead.
I would bring up the fact that I'm trying to formulate this words. This happened, the thing I'm talking about, the censorship and like that. It happened at Genshin Impact, which talked to the government before they released their game, and the government still, after the game released, told them to change something. So I think it's not more of you have to paint a picture and do know what you need to do before the game's released. If the Chinese government changes their mind, they will let you know immediately. And it's more like, if you play it too safe, the game is not going to be appealing. If you play it too, they're going to have to play a little bit risky because you don't know what the Chinese government is going to say is good or is not good. So that is what I'm hoping for doesn't happen, is the Chinese government this is good. Even if it paints a good narrative, that is just an extra caveat. You need to paint a good narrative and still obey what the Chinese government wants. So we don't know the rules though. We don't know if it's actually going to and propaganda may be a little bit too much of a stretch, but we don't know the entire narrative of the game yet. So to say that it's probably it's painting China better, we don't know exactly yet. We can assume. I don't want it to make it seem like China's the only one that does that, because we all do it. Every country does it. They, we twist history a little bit. So I'm not saying it in a bad way. We don't twist video games to be China. I would believe if someone would have told me that China forced the devs, and this is a hypothetical a situation. These are my actual thoughts. I would believe it if someone told me, hey, China government intervened to change the story of the game to make China looks better. I would believe that. I would also believe if they would arrest them if anything was said badly in the game about China. So my thoughts are either they're neutral or they are telling 100%, or they're not. Or they're gonna skim over things that China did wrong. That's probably what's, in my opinion, what's gonna happen.
I feel like every country alters their history a little bit. It's just a reality.
Yes, we alter history. That's not. I'm not talking about the history books. I'm talking about the game. Here's a good example. If Epic Games, example. If Epic Games makes a game about American history, we can say, if it's about the Civil War, we could say, hey, the South was horrible, or if it's about the American Revolution and makes the Americans look bad. No, the USA is not going to stop it, like jump in and just like chastise the video game developers or punish them or fine them or put them in jail or behead them or take their children.
All right, but the game can get Me Too'd in this day and age.
Yeah, but that's the people, not the government.
Correct. You are right on that aspect. Yes, and I get it. It comes down to if somebody in the Chinese government gets offended by something in the game. That's the reality of it. If they don't like something or get offended by something in the game, then they're going to come down to the developers.
Yeah, and we'll see because I believe the release date is 2025 for the game.
Mm-hmm.
So
no hard date yet, though.
No hard date. We'll see when the game comes out. Actually, I'm hoping for more gameplay in like videos and more trailers for it coming out in the future.
There's tons of gameplay videos already on it, from what I've seen.
Anyway, does anyone have any more closing statements before we end the episode?
No.
Silence.
I'm looking forward to it. I hope it meets the expectations that I got for it from what I've seen from the trailers and gameplay so far.
All right. Gamers, let me know in the comments down below if you're looking forward to the game or whether or not you think the game is going to be affected by China's government specifically. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Later.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Part-Time Gamers Podcast. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. And follow us on our other social platforms on TikTok, Instagram, and Discord. Links for those will be provided in the description. Thank you again. We will see you on the next episode of the podcast. And make sure you make some time for video games. Peace.